Good morning.
Good
Can you hear me?
morning. Yes, I can hear you.
I could hear you. It's amazing
Great.
this to work.
It's nice when things work.
Exactly. Gosh, Zoom is just really transformed everything.
It
No,
really has, isn't it? Like amazing. I think it's one of the most positive things from COVID.
oh, completely. And that's really how a lot of this was born for me. It was out of COVID because I had so many artists who were coming to me and saying, gosh, I want to do something. I want to talk. I want to perform. I just want to get out there. So it's been fantastic, actually, in that regard. There's silver lining to it all as well.
Yes, the silver lining, that's for sure.
So, how's it been going for you throughout all of this the last year and a half? How have you been coping and doing your work?
I have really, if I lost family, it'd be more of a complaint. I feel fine. I'm grateful. Honestly, I felt very equipped to manage this year. I've dealt with mental health challenges my whole life. So this year was not, to me, some difficult year compared to like what other people are realizing for the first time that they have mental health challenges or whatever. And it's become really a hot topic, I think, because of COVID. But I felt pretty equipped to deal with the challenges of this year. And I did a whole EP over Zoom. Nothing stopped me. I still wrote the whole thing over Zoom and figured out how to record myself properly at home and made it happen. I think every block just leads to more creative solutions.
Yeah, new 4-song EP. So done thoroughly in the new digital age. How was that feel?
Mhm.
Like just like sending files, I'm sure that had to feel kind of insane.
I thought it was totally, you know what, like I try not to be a big complainer. It was great. Like, I think it's a big time saver. Instead of driving or Ubering to a session, I got to just be in my jams at home, look at the computer because you're on a mission. Instead of spending an hour playing songs to each other and doing catch up, you get right to work. So it's very efficient, which I like. And we wrote songs in a couple hours and send me an instrumental, then I record it. No one's saying do it like this, do it like that. Not that I'm bossed around with the way I do vocals, but no, I just cut it the way it felt right for me and then send it over. So it's actually a big time saver.
That's true. And that's how we've all learned to work throughout all of this, right? It's just like we don't have to get into the car and commute. And I'm sure where you are, that's a huge challenge to just physically get anywhere. So that just totally cuts it all out.
Well, right now I'm in Toronto. I've been living in LA. I'm just visiting family right now. I'm in my dad's office, hence not my room. And I did the whole EP over Zoom with my friend producer in Toronto. So I wouldn't have been able to do it with him. I probably wouldn't have ever thought to do the EP with him because he was in Toronto, but Zoom proved that we could do anything from anywhere. So I probably, like I said, I probably would have never done this EP with him if COVID didn't happen.
Where did you record? I mean, like your vocals, your instrumental. I mean, did you have a makeshift studio? How did you get that together?
Just got a Sweetwater booth. I don't know what to call it. It's kind of like a panel. That's what you would call it. Just put a panel, mic, pop filter, boom, and I record the vocals, and then he does all the instrumentation. So he has his own studio in Toronto.
Oh, how nice. Gosh. Yeah, it must be nice being in Toronto in the summertime. I've gone up there in the summertime and like just to get away from the heat. It's just so nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful here, that's for sure.
Just love it. Yeah, what a great city. And just, I love that you can have a lot of public transportation as compared to probably being in Los Angeles. That's quite a big difference.
Yeah, I don't like public transportation, so
Not for everybody. Well, of course, yeah. I mean, if you have the challenges that you have, I'm sure that's not as easy either. But yeah, it really takes a lot out of like, oh gosh, having to drive is not a great alternative either. I never enjoyed that.
I love driving. It's the best time to do catch up phone calls, listen to podcasts. Again, I try to find, instead of complaining about things, I try to find how I make it the most enjoyable.
Sure, absolutely. And then with your 4-song EP, that came from a source of inspiration. What's the story behind this new work that you have out there now?
So I was doing Reiki on myself in November 2020, and I get spiritual downloads, information from the universe or spirit guides, whatever you would see it as. And I got this message that I'm not ready for true love until I go through a certain experience. And that message was interpreted as I should start dating women. And I was like, that's very fascinating. And I never thought about it. I was never in the closet. I was never repressing consciously. And I went on a few dates, met my girlfriend, and I was very inspired about this whole transformation because I had no idea how fluid I was. I always, said to friends who I thought were more liberated that like, wow, it's so cool that people can be so open. I wish I was more liberal, and I'm just like, I guess I'm not. And then I realized, wow, I can be, and I fell in love with this amazing woman. And all my writing sessions were online. And, everybody says at the beginning, like, hey, what are you up to? And I was like, well, I'm up to dating women. And so everybody was like, we need to write about that. Right. And so we wrote a lot about that. And I realized soon that this EP was going to be like a becoming out kind of EP. And I dedicated it to Anja because, she's my first ever girlfriend. And I love her so much. And she's led to a lot of creativity. She's been a muse for a lot of my songs. And some of the songs also are just about the spiritual evolution of deciding that I don't need to be limited by my past impression of my identity.
Oh, nice. So how does she feel about all of this? Like, you got a whole EP like dedicated to you. That's like the greatest love letter you could possibly conjure up.
Yeah, she loves it. She's very flattered.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how's the public reception so far? This just came out. So as we're speaking, we're into summertime. So
yeah, it just came out July 23rd. The third music video came out on the 30th. And so it's been good. But I'm so honest. I hate to lie. Like, I'm just some indie artist, and like no one knows who I am. No one gives a shit about me right now. So it's just like, if it wasn't for PR and digital marketing, I don't know who would hear it, so I'm not Sia or Lady Gaga. No one's waiting for my next release or anything. But so it's hard for me to say what's the response. Like, my friends and family are proud of me, and digital marketing works.
Oh, it totally does. I'm sure. And you have a niche. I mean, and this following starts to develop no matter where you go. I think you're in the right places for that.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So performing live, I'm sure you totally would love to get more and more into that. How is it up in Canada? Or is everybody back to somewhat normal, or how's that looking?
It's not as open as Los Angeles. Like, LA's right back in it, in my opinion, too quickly. Like, all of a sudden it was no mask, free for all, and now COVID's back on the rise. So I don't understand why it couldn't have been like, open things up, but keep your mask on and be realistic. What it's like in America. Everybody wants their rights and freedoms, and respectfully, I understand that, but also at the same time, it's just like everybody was just fine wearing their masks. And now that everybody's taken them off, it's totally spiked back up again. So, and I'm seeing people who have the vaccine getting COVID left, right, and center. So I'm kind of worried now again, because at first I was very excited about performing live, but now that it's back in crazy town with COVID, I'm kind of less eager to be performing indoors. I did an indoor show in June, was so fun. That was like the first show I did with everything being back. And now I kind of want to like stick it with outdoors. I don't really love the online shows. And yeah, I'm eager to play again, but I'm also just like one of those people that like, when the opportunity is right and when the time is good, I'm down whenever it makes sense. It costs me a lot of money to perform because I have to pay my band out of pocket. And most of the time I just make enough to pay off the cost. And that's if I'm lucky.
People have been really taking a hit because of all of this. And are you planning a festival for next year? Is that?
Yes, I'm very focused on that, and I will definitely be performing at the festival, but not headlining. I'm looking for a much bigger headliner. So it's a wellness festival called Wisdomania Fest, and I'm so excited about that. It's May 20th to 22nd, 2022. It will be outside. I love outdoors. I'm hoping by then everything's quote unquote back to normal. We'll see, but at least it'll be outdoors and we can always do protocols if needed. And it's going to be full of self-care sessions, creative workshops, live music, films on mental health, and comedy. So it's really like where intentional education meets entertainment.
Where are you going to be holding this festival?
We have yet to lock down the venue, but we have been in talks with La Brea Tar Pits in West Hollywood.
Perfect
Yeah.
place. It's the cutting edge
Yeah,
in California. Everything starts in California. That's especially
it's so true. Yeah.
it's trendy. That's why obviously you've been there. How long have you been there and living there part-time or whatnot?
I live there full time, and I'm just visiting family right now in Toronto. And I've been there since 2014. I first started as bi-coastal, and then I made the full move in 2017.
Good. So
Yeah. Where are you now?
I am in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, cool.
Very, very hot, muggy summer. It's just
Oh, wow.
one of the worst. I've been there a long time. This is one of the hardest summers to get through.
Wow.
But yeah, they're doing some outdoor festivals here as well. They just did one a few days ago, a band called Collective Soul, which came from here.
Oh, I've heard of them. That's cool.
I had their guitarist on about a few months ago on my podcast here. So great.
All right.
Yeah, they were pretty big here in the 90s. They got a huge start south of here of town and been doing very, very well. So getting back into it, yeah, Georgia opened up kind of early in all of this and, set panic buttons all over the place. So it's been both good and bad. But people are back out here and performing as well. So it's been going very, very well.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that.
How long have you been in this business now? And what were your earliest inspirations getting into it?
I always loved singing. I started singing lessons at age 7, recorded my first cover at age 10, was in my first band at 11, had an album recorded by 13, was touring by 15. And then I saw how ugly the industry was, and I took a good time off because I thought, music was so organic and such a love for me that I thought it would spoil it by making it a career. And I went to university for psychology, but ended up in the music building all of the time and starting bands. And I always did musical theater from age 8 to like my 20s. And so I was always creative, but I wasn't thinking career again until about 24, 25. So I'm 34 now. So I've been going at it for like a career for like the past 10 years. But I did have an early start, being in bands when I was young and we were touring. So I got a taste of that at, the whole band and industry life. We were signed to CAA. We performed around New York, Vegas and Hawaii and all across Canada. So like, I really didn't like it, to be honest, the industry. I thought it was gross. It's a lot of like, I was doing Molly on the streets when I was 15 years old, running around and getting fed drugs. And, it was just like, I can't believe this is what life is going to be like. And I told myself it's unhealthy. And also it was very intertwined with my family, and it was like a momager situation. And it was just like totally unhealthy. So I had to back away. But it's like, no matter how much I backed away from the industry, there were always things that pulled me back into it. And then when I make a decision to really go full-heartedly into something, I'm very committed. And as a Taurus, I'd like to say instead of stubborn, I'm persistent. So my stubbornness, I think, is a really good quality because I have a stick-to-itiveness that I think some people, I really wish I could share it with other people because I know how hard it is to stick to something, but I have this internal drive that with very minimal results, I'm still motivated to keep going at all of my goals. And I know that that's very difficult for a lot of people. And I see that's where success comes, is being having an Olympian attitude. And that means to me, not just doing things when you feel like it, but always consistently working on things, even when you're not in the mood, and pushing through and seeing something that might not be giving you income right now as an investment in the future, and not letting it just be driven by success or money. Because if motivation is by success or money and that doesn't come quickly, it's easy to just stop. So luckily I have a drive beyond success, fame, and money. It's just really internal satisfaction. I make music for me. I hope it connects with other people. I shine light on mental health awareness with hopes of inspiring other people, but also because it provides me healing by sharing, right? So I think I don't even remember what your question was, why I got into music or how it started, but very young age, thought I wouldn't do it anymore, found my way back into it. And yeah, then I put out my first EP as X.Ari in 2016.
Where does the name come from? How is that derived?
Ari was like, I just wanted something gender neutral and also succinct, and it means lion in Hebrew, and I've always felt connected to lions and just that like alpha energy. And X stands for X chromosome, something I decided the meaning would be later. At first I just wanted to have an initial, because people were like, I can't find you. I search Ari and I don't know where to find you. So I'm like, okay, that's not good. So let me put a initial. And then I was like, X, and then X is for X chromosome, something we all have in common.
Oh, very good. Yeah. And you're thinking of the digital marketing, but this is how this all folds into it. So that's how people can stumble on you and say, wow. And then, really catchy stuff. How many EPs? It's just EPs? Have you done a full length LP?
No, I've told myself there's absolutely no need for a full length album, because unless you're Adele or Beyonce, like no one cares. Like that's a reality. And I don't say that to be self-deprecating or not appreciate myself, because I love what I'm doing and I'm fully immersed and believe in myself. But I just think about being a realist and just like, no one's waiting for some 12-song record for me. Who's gonna sit down and listen to 12 songs of mine? I'll be lucky if they listen to half of one song, right? So the reality is I'm spending my own money that I'm working and saving up to make my EPs. So make a 4 or 6 song EP, or make triple or double that for triple or double the cost, when it makes no sense. Right now it's a singles world. For a long time it's been a singles market. Really all anyone should be doing, in my opinion, is releasing singles. An EP is a bonus.
Oh, that is so true. I can't remember the last time. And I kind of mourn for it, because I love the idea of the concept album. But yeah, like you said, it's incredibly expensive. Now we're into this digital age where it's like you want instant gratification and you want to get out there and just get that single out there and promote the daylights out of that. And then you do some great videos to them too.
Yes, yeah. It makes, like, I did 3 videos, 4-song EP. Yeah, so it's just like, the way I see it is, if I put out an album and I promote 3 singles and there's 12 songs, that's 9 songs that don't really get heard. And to put all that effort into that for it to be, just in a filler track, seems like, I don't know, I'm too attached to my songs to waste them off like that. And no one's invested enough to demand that I make an album yet. And I use the word yet because goals are someday there's a demand for X.Ari to make a full length album and there's a proper budget behind it. And I say, yes, I'd love to do that one day.
Yeah, never say never. It seems to me like, and it's so sad because it's only like for the legacy artists, those who have been around, decades now, they've got the time, the money to drop that new album. Kanye West is still here. He's like holed up in the stadium here, finishing up. And it's like, it's just a different way of premiering a new piece of work like that. And
yeah,
a shtick and a gimmick behind it.
Totally. Well, I think concepts can still be achieved in an EP. Definitely have a concept in this EP. It's, and a queer album, and like very deliberately about, spiritual transformation and woman loving another woman. So I think the concept's clearly delivered within an EP. It didn't need an album to be what it is.
That's great. And it's really, I'm sure you're getting feedback like, this helps people. This is just not, this is just goes beyond the arts. I mean, it definitely is out there, and it's about being wellness and promoting that as well. So that must feel fantastic as well.
Yeah, well, this EP isn't directly about mental health awareness, but I always promote mental health awareness and advocate for mental health and do lots of posts about it and talks and public speaking and initiatives. And in May 2021, I hosted Mental Health Month with X.Ari, a free month-long online wellness festival. It was 20 days out of 30 of the month. And so it was very jam-packed, and it took a lot of energy, and it was beautiful. And that's what inspired Wisdomania Fest. But I told myself a while ago that just because I advocate for mental health, which I've been doing since 2017 proudly, and I'm so grateful that it's become more of a hot topic, as I said earlier, because it
Yeah.
just like it needed to happen. And I'm just glad that more people are becoming allies with the same mission of helping heal the world. Like, it takes a whole community to make big shifts and differences. So I just feel like a small part of that, and somebody who's been rooting for that for a while now, I'm just grateful to see the change into that direction. And I told myself, like, I don't need to always write mental health songs to be a mental health advocate, because really music is a zeitgeist of our own lives, right? So this past year has been for me about becoming queer, and like that change in my life, and going through that has been something I want to creatively write about and have a catharsis. So I'm not going to force myself to write about mental health when I'm in the process of falling for women. That's what I'm going to write about. And I will always talk about mental health and have music about mental health as well, because it's very important to me. But I've realized that they don't have to coincide 100%, they can coexist.
Yeah, a standout track is Stranger to Savior. That seemed like a real transformative, like this is my journey here. And wow, you've just become the central part of my life. How did that come about when you were writing that and getting those lyrics together?
So I started it off on the piano. I remember just coming up with this melody of the oh and the na 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 na. I came up with the melody, and I brought the chorus to my producer Tom. I was like, "Oh, this idea for Stranger to Savior." We're singing of these melodies, and then we kind of finished it over Zoom together. But I came in with like some chords, and I don't remember if he changed them all, because I'm like very basic. I can play piano just enough to kind of get by and play them live like a little bit, but I'm not some fancy piano player. I would never hire me to be a studio musician. And but I played it to him. "Oh, what do you think about this?" And I just wanted it to be about, I like the, alliteration of stranger to savior, and that kind of, just really just like that teenage feeling again, where I'm in uncharted territory, having no idea what I'm doing. Like, before I met Anja, I never hooked up with a girl before. So I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Am I good at this? Can I even do this? Like, I don't even know if I could do this. Like, so it was just like at that space of like, what is this? And like, am I up for this? And really just trusting the universe, because I really believe every time I've spent time actively denying the inner voice, it's never worked out for me. So the opposite of that is tuning in and listening to the inner voice and trusting it for guidance. And the more I've leaned into that, the more it's been rewarding, the more I've been positively affirmed to continue doing that. So for me, I was at this spiritual place of really trusting my guides, that like, if they say this is for me, then this is for me, and I better just follow. Right. So it's really following my spirit guides, but following myself. And instead of having resistance, which I think the old me and a lot of people are stuck in this, I know I should be doing this, but I don't want to, because da 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 and this da 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 da. I can't listen. I'm gonna deny. I've grown out of that after a lot of, evidence that like it works, right? So for me, the old me would ignore a voice, and the new me doesn't. And so this was kind of a song about trusting the guides and like just going for it, even though it's like unknown, an unknown world, and just seeing what happens. And Anja is such a gift, because I literally was looking for the qualities in her and a man and not being able to find it. And then all of a sudden, when I switched genders, I was like, oh, I could find these qualities in a woman. Like,
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. And it does happen. It seems like
Yeah.
it's where you're finding your happiness. And, that might take you into your 30s. It might take even longer. And then you look back on it, it's like, gosh, I'm so sad because, it took me this long, but what's done is done.
I honestly try not to live in regret. And I think everything happens at its right time and that there's no such thing for me to feel sad about the past. I actually think it's like the best time in the world to be queer. And if I was queer in high school, maybe it would have been a really traumatizing experience for me. So I actually think I'm lucky that I'm in the day and age and live in a city like LA where it's widely accepted, because the people have gone through a lot of trauma being gay growing up, and I actually escaped that.
Absolutely did. I mean, yeah, like probably it was like 20 years ago, you were in high school. I mean, even then, this awareness really wasn't big until like the last few years now. So
No,
kids have it much better now. Definitely when it comes to that. Definitely.
for sure. So I try to, like, whenever I go to that fear mindset of, oh, this could have been the, I remember what could have gone wrong and why things are actually better the way that they are naturally. I really trust everything has its right timeline.
So growing up, what artists were you inspired by? Who was inspiring you? Was it a mixture of Canadian artists? Was it world artists? American?
Yeah, totally. Like growing up, I loved like Celine Dion, of course, Canadian artist, and Whitney Houston and Tony Braxton. I really am Mariah Carey, huge. I was very into the big diva voices, like very much so. Loved, like, and when I was younger, I loved to belt and just like wail. So I've always, it was later in life where I got more into the soft sound in my voice. And when people kind of told me that was a nice tone, but I used to think singing was all about the big belts, because I was growing up on the big diva singers, right? And they can just hold a note at full throttle. And I was like, that's my goal, right? But later in life, I got to appreciate subtlety and delivery, having dynamics and going from a more relaxed and soft vulnerable sound and building into a belt and being playful and a chanteuse more than just a singer. So I love all kinds of music. I'd say um Alanis Morissette, no doubt. Those were big on my CD player when I was a kid. And then like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and Spice Girls. I think Spice Girls was my first concert.
Wow.
And I was 8 and I loved it. Thought Spice Girls was so cool.
Huge.
My first band was kind of like an echo of Spice Girls. We were like late to the game, but trying to be Spice Girls. And what else was there? I loved in high school, like Our Lady Peace is another Canadian band I was big into. Sublime, Chili Peppers. Got into Pink Floyd in
Wow.
high school and was like all about that. And I love Bob Marley. And yeah, I was Incubus. I was a huge fan of Incubus in high school, like mega fan, obsessed with Brandon Boyd. I think I've seen 3 of their concerts. Later in life, got into Radiohead and LCD Sound System, and I love Santi Gold, Fantagram, tons of artists. I love lots of different music, everything, really, like everything. To me, it's all about like great music, but I think that I love a blend of genres. Like I really loved it when 21 Pilots came out, because I was like, wow, a pop band mixing reggae with hip hop and pop and alternative. So I think it's really fun to play in crossover genres. And I try to, with my music, do an alternative sound mixed with pop sensibilities and hip hop deliveries and electronic cadences. So I really lean into pop as like the overarching theme with alternative, electronic, and hip hop. And I'd say it's like pop, alternative, and then hip hop and electronic on the side. And that could be as simple as just the way I deliver a vocal could have a hip hop kind of edge to it, and there could be little sounds that are electronic, but it's not EDM electronic. So I don't know. I like taking energy from a variety of influences. Like I really sometimes just fall for a song more than I fall for an artist. I've never been like, I love this song. I think it's called something like Something to a Pedestrian by Courtney Barnett, something pedestrian. And I just like, I'll fall for a song, but I don't always necessarily get obsessed with an artist. And it goes to show that the singles world that we're in. And I've never been so like need to know about their lives. Like, I don't know why. I think it's because I'm really an alien from another planet and I don't really care. I just
Yeah.
care about the music, and all I really care is that they're good people. Like, it's funny because when people say like, oh, did you ever meet this person? Are they nice? That's all we want to know, right? When people meet a famous person. So all I care about, are you nice? And is your music, connecting with me? But other than that, I don't care about people's personal lives. I think as long as they're good people, that's all that matters. But
I think people do that because they want to hear like something negative, and then they're so disappointed when they don't hear it. It's like, yeah, they are nice, okay. They want to hear something.
Really?
That's
Is that it?
Yeah.
That's so funny because my perspective's the opposite. I feel like people are put a lot of famous people on a pedestal, and when they hear they're not nice, there's a big disappointment.
Yeah.
That's the way I have always interpreted it.
Must be generational or something, because like older people, I think they just want to, people like seeing a train wreck, I think. I like the older people.
I don't. I like to see people do well. I feel awful when I hear train wrecks because I know what it's like to really be suffering, and I don't want that for anybody.
True. And there's nothing more crushing than when they say meet your heroes. I mean, you hope they're nice. And
yeah, that's what I mean by that. It's like,
yeah,
we think this person it's the halo effect. Someone's beautiful, we think they must be nice, and it's just something in our genetics or evolution that's intertwined in our belief that someone beautiful is nice, and or somebody that has a big place in society must be nice, and that's not always true. And so it can be disappointing when it's a fallacy.
yeah. I was up in Canada. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, so right across Lake Erie. So I'd always get a lot of Canadian stations. I would see a lot of their influences. But I've visited many times over the years, and I remember in the mid '90s, I was like, they kept playing. I mean, I didn't know Alanis Morissette's name even at that point. They played
Wow.
the daylights out of her on radio.
Oh wow, yeah. Jagged Little Pill is like one of the best albums of life, like my lifetime, and wow, just everything from like, for me, and something that blew my mind when my mentor at the time taught me music, when you analyze it, boils down to lyrics, melody, delivery, and production. And just to clarify what delivery means, it means like the cadence of the vocals, the energy behind the guitar, whatever it is, that's delivery. So like the energy behind each instrument and vocal take. So if lyrics are amazing, melody is amazing, delivery is amazing, production is amazing, you have a full, it's like foolproof, right? Bulletproof, whatever you want to call it. If you have 3 out of 4, it's still pretty much a good song, but without 3 out of 4, it's not going to be anything really special. And when you think about it, look at like Bob Dylan. Was his voice, was the delivery that great because it was, or was it all about the lyrics, right? So there's certain things that sell different people. Like, you give Adele a song, the lyrics can be mediocre, the melody can be great, the delivery is incredible, and the production can be pretty good, and she'll still sell it because her vocals, the delivery is so high, right? Out of a scale of 10 out of 10, right? So Jagged Little Pill has the lyrics, has the melody, has the delivery, like all those like different tonalities in her voice, and cracks and dips, and like kind of like Cranberries flick, or whatever you want to call it, like a yodel kind of to her voice. Just like nobody was doing that. And so innovative, and the production just being this like, rock music for a woman to sing with, like, she just like brought it. And she was so young, she's like 18 or 19, and just sounding so precocious. And I think that's something people love in the industry. Like, that's probably why Lord and who was after Lord, Billie Eilish, did so well, or do so well, is because of this ahead of their time, precocious energy, where you think you're getting wisdom from a 40-year-old coming through a voice of a 15-year-old. And it's just this, it's this dissonance, because how can somebody so young be speaking like a sage? Well, it's because they have writers and siblings, you know, like Billie Eilish has her brother, you know, writing for her and helping her out, and I'm sure she's greatly involved. But it's like it's all about the packaging, and there's something that we love about the youth dictating like a wisdom of an elder.
Oh, it's so true, and it just floors me when that happens, especially with, I saw Lorde a few years ago over here, she played near my house, and it was just really incredible. I'm like, and just has a really, it's the presentation too, the
Oh
visuals.
yeah, yeah.
Gosh, it's like, I mean, the way she puts on the show and all the gimmicks that she pulls too, but it's the voice and the
Oh
delivery.
yeah.
Wow. It just
But
has
like nothing she can do now will be, as no offense to her, unless I'm just waiting for the right song to come out. I think she's amazing, and you know, who am I to lay insult? But her Royals EP or whatever it was titled, her album was incredible, and some of the singles after it phenomenal. Like Lord, someone it was it super cut. I love that song. She had
yeah,
some really good singles come after it, but the latest music, like she took like a 4 year maybe plus hiatus, and the latest songs I'm like, I don't know about that. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not vibing with the latest. I was expecting more, and I think that's really difficult, and I feel for artists because when an artist like her comes out with a splash, it's so hard to make a grand return.
It is hard.
You
Yeah.
know, like that's why I commend Taylor Swift, because as much as I'm not some diehard Taylor Swift fan, but she knows what she's doing, and she comes out with hit after hit and keeps being relevant. And that, and like same with Beyonce, that to me is success. It's one thing, and that's one level of success. There's all kinds of success, but that's
Sure.
a kind of consistency success. Like if I was to label it, I'd say consistently having commercial success is a certain kind of layer to success, because a one hit wonder is a success in that potent period of time, and that person can think they're a success because they've had one hit in their whole life. But to be a consistent commercial success is a different level of success story, and Beyonce and Taylor Swift have that, and I don't quite think Lorde has that with her comeback right now. But I could be wrong. I'm not some predictor with a crystal ball of top 40 hits, you know. But and who am I to say any of that without even having my own hits? But
It's gonna be hard though, and it's gotta be hard to be like what they call an A&R person, and yeah, how do you know what's gonna be it? You could listen to there are full albums of these classic artists that I've had for years, and it's like, why wasn't that ever a single? That would have been great, but I don't know. They know something that we don't know, how things would catch on in the public. It's hard.
yeah, I guess they're just I would assume that A&Rs who are already killing it, if they have a track record, pun intended, of picking the best tracks, they probably get, you know, that notoriety that they have a tastemaker mindset, and they're able to kind of pluck the best of the best, and
Yeah,
they earn that title of, you know, being that A&R because they're predicting success. You know, A&R is essentially being like the psychic of success, you know, for artists, for commercial success. And yeah, their job is to listen to the album and go, okay, track 4, that's the one, you know, that's the one the label is going to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in, and they're putting a lot on the line. But is it the song, or is it the money behind the song and the team that makes it a hit? Who would ever know?
yeah, so much different. And you're talking about Beyonce, they have like a whole team behind her. It's not just back in the day, the singer-songwriter, you know, James Taylor would just come out with his one song, the A&R person picks the singles or whatever. But nowadays, it seems like there's a whole bunch of producers behind single tracks, especially with somebody like Beyonce.
Oh yeah, it's actually amazing. Like some songs have 7 plus, you know, people being credited on it. And the most I've done on one of my songs is 5 writers in a room, and I thought it was way too much. Like, just no, like I prefer one-on-one, me and one producer. Like the producer does the music, and he has abilities with top line, you know, lyric and melody. That's my preference, is a one-on-one. And I think sometimes there's a situation where bringing in a third is a great fit, especially when the artist is young and doesn't know their story as well as they, well, how should I phrase this? They know their story, but they don't know how to portray it in a creative way that hasn't been done before. And bringing in a third person to sit there to manipulate the words into something more interesting, but make it authentically them, it could be really useful. Like I do that a lot for young artists. You know, they're 15 and they don't know what they want to say. And I ask them a bunch of questions. All of a sudden we have a cool concept, right? So it sometimes takes like a music writer therapist to kind of bring out the moods and energy to get an interesting topic for someone who isn't as experienced. But when you've written as many songs as I have the capacity to sit there with a producer. And for me, it's just like a bonus to let someone in the room. And I always appreciate a third writer because I would never make whatever I made with them by myself. And like that's what's the beauty of collaboration is it wouldn't exist without all parties in the room. And it's good to be challenged for people to say like, we could do better here. How about this? You know, and I noticed, you know, this lyric could be stronger, or what if it's always beautiful to have that back and forth. But yeah, I prefer one-on-one personally.
Absolutely. So you write a little bit on instrument. Did you just start noodling around on piano? Did you play around with guitar when you were really younger? It's just like you just know enough chords and you pretty much hear a melody on your voice. How does that come?
It comes in a variety of ways. Sometimes I get a line, like just some words, and then I put a melody to it. Then I go on the piano, punch out the melody, and then pick some chords that work with the melody and then write the rest of it on piano. Other times I just come to Zoom with it and say, I want to write a song about impurity today. And we just out of thin air come up with the, you know, he'll play a little guitar and I'll come up with the melody. He'll come up with the melody. I come up with some lyrics, and we're on Google Doc going back and forth and writing verses and going, oh, okay, this is what I wrote for this verse. What did you write? Oh, I like this line. I don't like that line. Okay, we'll take half of yours, half of mine. Let's put it together. And just kind of jigsaw puzzle it. But I like doing it a variety of ways. Sometimes I map out, and there's a lot of times when I get a track, for example, someone will say like, I need you to write for this video game. Let's say, and I get a track in my inbox. I play the track, I put on a voice memo, I record all the melodies in a couple minutes. Then I listen back to the voice memo and go, oh, from 10 seconds to 25, that's a pre-chorus. Okay, from 45 seconds to 60, that's the verse. Okay, and then I map it out and I memorize the melodies in each section that are which, and then I put them in the right order. Then I write the lyrics. So it really depends. Like, am I getting a track that I'm writing to that I have to fit into the guide of this track? Or am I working with complete blank canvas in my own mind, just with a word? Or am I working with a melody and then fitting a word into that melody? I really go all ways, but really it's melody, lyrics and melody that I'm working on. And to me, like the piano or the track is just the bedding for that.
Cool. What do you have, a traditional grand piano upright or just a keyboard? What kind
just a keyboard, Maybe one day I'd love to have a piano one day.
Yeah. You didn't need to be schlepping big equipment all over the place either. So
yeah, definitely a big schlep. Are you Jewish with the word schlep there? Oh my God. Shalom, Kaver. I'm Jewish too.
Oh my gosh.
You only hear a Jew say schlep.
That's so funny. So growing up Jewish in Canada, they do have Jews in Canada. Oh my God. Howie Mandel as well, I'm sure.
Yeah,
they do. I mean, and Canada is just, to me, it was always just so unique, just like when we would go visit. And I just so fell in love with Toronto. I love going.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
And Yonge Street we used to go to. I remember in my early 20s, I just begged my parents like, one more time. I just want to go one more time. And I think we went to see Phantom of the Opera at one of the theaters in downtown. It was really, really cool. And I love Second City. That's really big in Toronto as well.
Oh yeah, Second City is amazing. I went there for improv growing up classes and would love Second City classes and just attending their shows. They're incredible.
Yeah, I've been to the Chicago and the Toronto one, and it's just so funny. Canada's humor, at least in the early 90s, it was just kind of funny to to see all the inside jokes that they were manufacturing back then. It was funny.
Well, Toronto's great. I'm here for the next couple weeks. Right now I'm staying with my dad. I'm in quarantine. And then I'm going to see some friends. And then Anja and I are doing a trip to Hawaii to have something to look forward to, because we're like 5 weeks apart. How are we going to do this? So we decided if we plan a trip to look forward to, we could get through 5 weeks.
Neat. So where are you going in Hawaii?
I think it's called Kauai.
Oh yeah, Kauai. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I've been to the Big Island, obviously flying to Oahu and take a little short trip over to the Big Island, which is beautiful. You got Hilo, and it's just so spectacular. Oh, you'll love that.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Sweet. So how many songs have you written? I mean, they're basically your babies. I mean, every artist says, oh, these are all my babies.
Yeah.
How much is your catalog now?
Whew, I guess on Spotify, every EP except this one was 6. So 4 times 6, what is that? 24. And then a couple singles in there. So I'd say maybe 2 or 3 singles, so 27. And then this is a 4-song EP. So I probably have 31 songs on Spotify, and then some remixes. So I have 32, 33 songs on Spotify, all digital streaming platforms. But keep in mind, I've written several songs for the EP that don't ever get released. So for my EP, As You Are, for example, I wrote about 30 songs, then trimmed down to 17, and then picked the best 6 out of the 17. And that's just for one album cycle. So 6 came from 30.
That's good. That's good. So you must have like, notebooks or catalogs or notes in your phone and all of that. So you probably direct stuff and then rework it later on.
Yeah. So I'd say if I wrote like 20 for every EP, that equals 100. But I've written also for tons of other artists and several songs for other artists, some which get released, some which don't. And I'm hired to write for other artists or other people. Like I recently had a project where I just came in to like give a young, not young, but like a new producer more experience working with the top liner and artist. So I come in and I write some songs. I usually write in an hour and a half. I have a song down. But it's not like a race, it just kind of flows out on me, you know, and sometimes I spend more time picking things apart, but usually I just let it come out, and whatever it is, it is.
Yeah, that's so cool. So on YouTube, you're doing I really love these videos. What's it like?
Thank you.
Yeah, they look like a lot of fun to make.
Well, I love doing She Knows It because I was in the middle of a manic episode and I was like getting at this is bipolar 1. And so I was getting out all this energy and I was like, I'm going to use this energy to be as engaging as possible, because keep in mind, like, I don't know if people can tell from my videos, but I didn't put a lot of money into these videos for this EP cycle, because after doing it for all these years independently, it's like one year I looked at my taxes and I spent $30,000 on music in 1 year. And I was just like, holy shit, you know? How did I do that? You know, I just didn't, because I wasn't thinking about it every day and adding up what I'm spending. But when I did the taxes, I was like, holy crap, that's a lot of money with very little return. And I was just like, other than, you know, my own joy, which is, what is that worth? Right. So I'm just like, wow. So for this EP, I thought I'm going to be a bit more mindful of what I spend on the content creation. And I actually made my Anja music video and my She Knows It video and all the social media content in a matter of 4 hours in one shoot. And so it was just one studio rental, paying a guy. I edited it all myself on iMovie. And then the She Knows, the Stranger to Savior video, I did 1 hour shoot.
Wow.
And so I just did everything like as tightly and as efficiently, and as I did all the directing and production and editing myself. And then I just paid, you know, a film guy and the studio. So everything else was my own undertaking to save money. And I'm like amazed when people are like, I love it, because I'm like, wow, it cost me a few $100s. like, because I was so used to thinking like, must have high concept, must have interesting storyline, must have all this detail to, keep, like, for example, when I look at my video Breakpoint, which I put out on my EP called Unify. And it was very entertaining and very fun to create, but it cost me a lot more. And it had puppetry and props, and I had to like spend doing arts and crafts days and coming up with concepts and timing, and we had to rehearse it. It was a one take. It was everything. Like, I've gone from that to like doing my own makeup, borrowing some lights from a friend, and just like being like doing it as do it myself as possible without it looking do it myself, which is like a good ability that I've gotten to. And that's all really the camera, and like getting someone with a really good camera who knows how to work the camera, and choosing a setting that's decent enough and giving it 100% energy. Because you can have I've learned that I can have a video with very little going on, and as long as I am intense AF and giving my full energy to the camera, it doesn't need a whole storyline. It doesn't need 6 backup dancers and 3 locations and a romance B story spread throughout it. If I can be interesting to watch for 3 minutes, that's good enough. So I would just think about when I'm performing, like, how can I be someone people don't want to take their eyes off of? And that is the challenge I'm trying to achieve. And that's the only way I can balance out putting in less money, is by being like delivering an energy that people want to watch, so I can get away with the low budget. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally.
So it's a good challenge, and I hope I'm as engaging as I tried to be.
Oh, it totally works. Yeah. I mean, it's all like we say in the digital marketing. I mean, you are wearing so many different hats, and artists, I know for most, it's a challenge. I think you have that edge. If you're able to edit your own music videos, oh my gosh. I mean, how many artists can say that? It's not many.
But really, like, iMovie is super easy to use. Like, I'm embarrassed that I use iMovie because people like use Premiere and all these fancy things. I'm just lazy to learn things that are new. And I'm like stubborn in that sense. It's like, once I understand a program, I'm really good at editing. Like, I would never, again, like, I'm good enough to write on piano for myself. I'm good enough to edit for myself. I would never hire me as an editor. I would never hire me as a studio musician. I would only hire me as a songwriter and vocalist. But for my own videos, why not edit them? I see an angle, I like how I look, or I'm even beyond visuals. I like how it feels, like the delivery and the energy and like the moment that has created a magical moment. I can isolate that and go, okay, that's definitely going in the video. I can see, oh, I don't like the way my face looks at this angle, I'm deleting that footage. Whereas an editor who I hire, that I just give them the footage to and they do whatever, they don't know what angles I like, and they don't know what I consider contagious energy, So I like intensity, I like drama, I like when things are, fueled with a vibe, and only I can be the indicator of that.
Yeah, at that level, at your level, you can control your content much more. As I think you get up there, then the record company's deciding what, the type of songs you have, who's the lead singer on that song, and then they're into the videos. It's like, I think at your level, it must be kind of nice to be, you're in control of it. Once you give it to somebody else, it's their vision at that point.
Yeah, I think it's really a fine balance, because there's something so supportive and wonderful about having a big team behind you, because you can really lean back and like they're like your hammock essentially, and you can lean into them, get direction, get support. You're not alone, and like how amazing it is to have people carrying you along with your mission. I'm saying this all on the caveat that they're executing your vision in the way that best represents you and makes you happy. With that being included, that is incredible. But the opposite side of the spectrum is giving away your power and it being contorted in a way that is inauthentically you, and having to forfeit your independence for that kind of support. So it's like, if you can get a happy medium of like, if I could get a happy medium of getting my message elevated on a higher platform because of the support system, then I'm winning. But if they're putting down who I am and telling me I need to look like this and I need to be, I can't be, write songs about my girlfriend, or no more mental health conversation. Like I'd be like, no, no, no. I'd rather be low budget and independent and real to who I am. But if I had to choose between being independent and real and authentic to who I am versus having a whole team allowing me and just giving me a platform, I would choose that. Because I definitely would love to have the chance to have more exposure and ability to really shine brighter, because the bigger my influence can get, hopefully the more healed the world can be, and the more impact I can make by helping others, and the more initiatives I could do and speak at bigger events, and just make a bigger difference, in the world.
That's fantastic. And it's great that you're doing this speaking on mental health, and you just had the Proud and Loud events. I mean, that's just really fantastic. Just getting it out there, getting rid of the stigma that comes with all the mental health issues out there. So I would just say really kudos on all those levels.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, it's been fantastic speaking with you this morning, afternoon. I don't know what
Yeah.
it's like this day.
Where are we?
But best wishes. Great new EP, a lot of energy. You're into the whole electronica. If you're into that, this is a great EP for anybody.
Thank you so much, Robert. It was really great to connect with you. Hopefully I'll be performing sometime in Atlanta and you can come out, or hit me up if you're in LA. And it's great to meet you and connect with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to support my music. It means a lot.
Take care. Have a good one.
Thanks. You too. Bye.